Why am I muted? That's not right. Is that better? That sounds really far away. The heck? Does that sound normal? Nice, Delta. Filter. No. Does this reset everything? How does that sound now? No, that still looks really quiet. Streaming. That sounds a little better, I think. Hmm. Let's move that down there. Nope. Can't click the right things all the time. Okay. That's about as good as it's going to get for today. Okay. Normally I get up into the yellow quite frequently, but it looks like I'm all the way down in the green. Anyway, unless you have any major problems with the audio, I think we'll deal with that for right now. That looks childish. Okay. So, continuing random projects until I get back into things like Liquid Sky, find my right schedule. Um, on the game library stuff, uh, I'm not happy with the amount of information I have available in the games plus IGDB, and I don't want to merge that information together in the core database, right? I don't want to have all the IGDB concerns mixed in with the games. And even the price charting stuff, I actually think that that should potentially be its own thing, so that I can pull that out at a later date if I need to. Because right now the price charting thing becomes quite a tight concern with it. So if you think about it this way, if I flip the responsibilities here, and I make the IGDB part of the application understand my game ID, and I split out price charting as its own thing and make that understand my game's ID and how it associates to price charting, the core games database remains the same without any changes and without any price charting concerns. The benefit of that is that my games data that I've collected is still all my game data, and I have no third party concerns. But the problem comes with that is that how do I get that all together, join back? So what I'm looking at is using CDC, which is So I don't add Kafka and stuff in, right? I'm looking at what other options do I have, and CDC is something that I've talked about quite a bit recently in both my professional and personal stuff, and I want to understand what it takes to get CDC up and running. So that's kind of where I'm going to focus for the next couple of days, I assume, so we can make some progress. Um, and Stony, as for dogs, uh, Loki's gone back to bed, and Taylor's fast asleep, snoring beside me. So unless I want to basically quit on the stream, I'm not going to wake them up. If they wake up, we'll have some uh, camera time. But the only way of waking them up right now would be to get treats, and that's not fair. When you said CDC, my mind immediately went to my not working again Bose speaker for the TV. not not wasted. Actually, how do you do them? What are those things? View rewards. They give you them back, and then you can pay for it when the dogs are more awake. How do you do channel point stuff? Rewards. There's no queue, is there? Hi, Sully. How you doing? Stream. That's interesting. Communication device. No, it's changed data control. Or CDC SQL Server. Change data capture, sorry. So what this does is allow me to um, um, capture changes as they come through the database. So what you do is you enable CDC against the database. Um, George, thank you very much for 20 months. People who make software and invent their own data format are among some of my least favorite people. Oh no, what pain have you suffered recently? um, so JSON, CSV, and XML. Oh no. Yes. I would imagine trick is a word for it. And this script enables CDC for all the tables in the database. Basically, I'm adding it on everything so that I can figure out what I want to add it on. Right? Probably diagram time at some point. I'm making a converter to XML for a poker club I'm in. They use some software called Tournament Director that exports things in their own proprietary data format. Uh, um, oh, sorry, Dodge, I missed the. I thought about writing a blog article about event-driven stuff since some of those books I bought lately are about event-driven architecture. Hmm. Um, so usually if I just executed better, it would work properly, but in this case, probably not. I'm having a hard time even regexing me out of this. Oh no. Regex doesn't work. Abandon all hope. Oh. Yeah. Sounds like not a lot of fun. Okay. So, they contain a history of the tourney events, so they are meant to be used for replays as well. Oh. So you just got some weird data formats to work with. Tournament director, he said. The software. Um, okay, so basically what I achieve with Kafka normally in this, right? So normally I have those integration points in Liquid Sky, I use integration, and I have, okay, these events fire off in my application, and when they fire off, they will produce these um, they will produce these changes. Um, so what I'm doing, what I want to do here is switch that up a little bit, where my application doesn't know about Kafka. I don't want my core code to understand about Kafka. I want the ability to break these out. So ultimately, price charting would probably become a separate concern. The fact that I've got a price charting API infrastructure here suggests that that's exactly what I need, right? Um, and this way, um, I can split the concerns, right? So I can have my data, which is, hey, these are my games. I've recorded these games. This is the data I've created, or I've captured rather, not created. Um, but then join these back together in a view, which will allow me to make a more rich view. And the reason I started down this path is because I started down looking at the SQL stuff, and yeah, it's I'm adding a lot of views and queries that join data, and it's slowing things down. And I don't think that's necessarily the best way of doing this. What I probably want to do is use Mongo, collect all this information into a Mongo store, and then I can store the game with the current pricing. I can store its history if I want to, or I can join the history separately. But I can store all the relevant data about a game with the game, so I can create a combined object that is um, all these. Um, all these different pieces of information. And then if I drop one of them, I just modify my view and drop that information later on. But I don't change the core of the data, right? The core of my data. Yeah, no idea about poker. Okay, so is this started? This is not started because I didn't start it back up again yesterday. So let's go in here. Um, Configuration, deployment, um, Docker compose. Oh, dash D. That brings up the services so it can start to get access to the database. Yeah, I do not have the right level of self-control to go starting getting involved in poker games. So I am glad that it does not appeal. um, Uh, so this code. So I began a a, a conversation with the AI tools to try and get me down the path of understanding what CDC looks like. So once we've turned on CDC, right, enabling that gives us this ability to query this. So now on a service, I'm gonna have to query on a time, right, that will go and check it kind of keeps a catalog of changes. What it does in the background is it creates change tables for all the database tables that I have, right? So I don't know if it shows them or it puts them in a different schema, but in the background it creates change tables for every single table that I've added it to. I don't think this tool necessarily shows me, um, but yeah, no, it doesn't look like it does show me. Routines, views, but I'm adding store procs, I'm adding um, lots of things like this. Um, um, and I don't like that idea for the view side of things. So what I want to do is I want to split a separate store out. So what I've got called IGDB cache here, I probably want to rename as my data. And then these cache queue entries that I have aren't really cache queue entries. These are actual IGDB game data that I can um, that I can then go and pull through to get the extra information. So I'll create a version of this data that has that's combined with my game is the idea. So that then I actually get rid of things like my IGDB uh, game ID. So if I look at these entities, right, I have price charting snapshot, price charting highlight. These tables I would like to move out to their own data store. And then IGDB platform mappings don't exist in here. So this just is concerned with adding a game, and the UI will be the thing that says, "Oh, link this game to this IGDB game," and now it will be in the view side of things that's tracked, um, which actually moves the responsibilities in the right direction because now the IGDB and price charting data own the links to my games, not my games own the links to them. So I have no knowledge of these third party integrations, which gives me true control. So if a third party integration changes, goes away, or whatever, my game's data is still my game's data. Yes, my application becomes less rich. However, I can always replace that with something later. So that's kind of the direction I'm heading in right this second. And the reason I'm focusing it on this app is because this is way easier to do than Liquid Sky, right? Um, so uh, I can break this, I can change this, I can move this around a lot more with a lot more flexibility than I can in Liquid Sky. If I start this in Liquid Sky, challenges abound. So CDC is basically a my replacement for Kafka in this case, and allows me to stream the entire database out. I could actually hook Kafka up to CDC and stream the entire database out, and then use streams to convert that and pull that in whatever format I want. The reason I don't do that in Liquid Sky is because I feel that I want control over the data that's coming out of each component so I can manipulate it or whatever, um, and do it that way. Um, so, um, uh, let's let's go to the CDC thing. So this the idea of this is, and I'm just going to bring up my Claude. I actually create a Claude project for this one because I believe it's an ongoing idea. And whether this will work perfectly or not, I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be a lag, but there's already a lag in my uh, um, uh, current version. Um, okay. I'm watching but not reading out all the poker chat. I don't have an issue with you having a chat about poker, uh, but I'm just not reading it out. Okay, so CDC is enabled on the databases. This will actually query all the changes. I'm still trying to get my head around exactly um, um, how this is working. Um, it kind of keeps referenced IDs of what's changed. I'm not sure how it clears them out, otherwise, or how am I going to get them? So that's a question because obviously I don't want to keep reading. Oh, these changes. So I assume at some point I'll have to track these LSNs potentially. So we're going to learn about that. So CDC event streaming architecture. So we have integration services, CDC repository. We're going to need to add dependency injection, which is fine. So let's go here. Let's add hosting. Hey, maybe. How you doing? How are things today? Um, Microsoft extensions hosting, hosting. And then we're going to do var host or var builder equals host dot create application builder var host equals builder dot build, and then await host dot run async. Okay, so then let's go and add import references. Gain tracking. So the interesting thing here is if I had multiple SQL databases like I do other things, then this integration service would have to be created for every single I'd have to add the integration service into every single project. What I was trying to do is have this running separately, uh, rather than add another background service in. So yeah, well, hopefully it went well. So we have CDC. Of course. Unacceptable. We had the highest priority. It went really well, but prior to it, oh, just what you need. A multi-step um, a multi-step interview approach. Eh, sometimes they can be good for the company, I suppose. Okay. Um, oh, fun. So let's add the configuration. And if you are new to the stream, if you have any thoughts, questions, opinions of what I'm doing, please feel free. Um, more than welcome to join in. So this is game tracking, and it's just the same connection string as here for right a second, right? He says with, there we go. Game trove games. Testing your coding skills in interviews is tough just because it's so slow to get actual code out. I still enjoy the send something home, do it, then come in and let's talk about it. Or join the call and talk about it. I don't mind the PR approach much easier than thinking of a random solution to a problem I don't care about. True. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start this one separately. My code never works if it's not tested. I realized that over the weekend while right. I think you got to be careful not building a reliance on the fact that you can't test code, or saying that as well, because obviously, you know, if you're going for a job and you say, "Oh, I can't write code without tests," and they don't do unit testing or integration testing or end-to-end testing of any form, how do you manage that? Because you can't necessarily just introduce it. So working on legacy systems, you don't always have that luxury. You own a house now. You don't necessarily have the luxury of saying, "Well, sorry, it can't work for you. You don't do testing." But if you're working on a legacy system without tests, and you say you can't write code without tests, it doesn't interview very well, right? So building that dependency is I'm not saying it's not a good thing to attain. Like, yeah. Oh dear. So what I need to do is build a new service. What is this? This is the change monitoring service. We'll call it for right a second. It's a background service as an execute, right? And then we inject an I scope factory, I scope factory. You do that so you can create scoped services inside of a service. There's another technique I've seen, and I can't remember whether it's called or what it uses, but I could have sworn there was a smoother way of doing this. And what we're going to do there is we're going to get vars. I think we do async await var scope equals factory. That create async scope. Await using. Okay, we don't do the await. Okay, I'll take that. Oh, because I didn't do that. How I use keyboard. Now it wants the await. There you go. I was right. Merlin, welcome in. How you doing? Nice. Those who are not aware. Maybe he's also a streamer and does development of Barely Fit on stream. And it's a great app. I highly recommend using it. Um, I've quit streaming. No, you have not. You wouldn't do that to your adoring fans. Um, but yeah, I highly recommend going check him out. Take that. Okay, in greater numbers. So this service is going to grab a repository, loop through the changes, and do something, right? Currently fighting the front end a coworker created and fixing form data transmission to the back end while changing all routes because we changed architecture. Nice. That sounds fun. Um, yeah, it's Monday. I'm beginning, so we'll see how this goes. Um, I'm trying, so coming around on the health thing, I am trying to I have some yogurt and some fruit to eat for breakfast, but I'm trying to wait a little while till after stream so I can eat that at a time that doesn't mean because if I eat before stream, when my wife and daughter get up, I end up being so hungry by the time I finish streaming, I find it difficult to resist the urge to snack or to do something else. And normally those snacks involve ordering something, which is dangerous, especially when I'm bored. Um, so I'm trying to not eat before the stream, which means that I've got to figure out how distracted I'm going to get. But yeah, joy. Okay, so we're going to grab a repository, loop through changes, then do something. I'm not sure how I want to do this. Um, hmm, uh, how I want to create this query system, how I want to. I'm charging my headphones before the gym. Yeah, that's a. Oh no! So the battery's gone in them. Because if it tastes good, it's probably gonna. That's not. I don't think that's necessarily true. Um, yeah, I think that might be not uh, accurate. Um, so let's see if we can capture some change first before we understand what we're going to do with it. Yeah, let's not bring the the tone all the way down. Um, okay, that works. Um, I tried to so on YouTube I created a little thumbnail the other day, a little cover art thing, and I decided to do the same thing with Project Liquid Sky. Um, but it doesn't understand the mission. So it just took what I did for Game Trove and put Project Liquid Sky in front of it. I'm like, no, I want different icons. And it also can't spell. So you've got to be careful when you're doing stuff like this because it dropped the O from uh, it dropped the O from project once, and then it added an extra I. Um, yeah, accusations. So yeah, I was trying that before, but anyway. Um, so let's get this working before we worry about the actual. Um, So, do I want to create a scope every single time? That seems really wasteful. But it basically creates it as a singleton if I don't. So that's this scope. If I do this, right, so basically infinite loop where we don't have cancellation token, right? Then this scope created here will be live for the entire lifetime of that loop. If I create it in here, that's going to create a brand new scope every single loop and dispose of whatever it did before, which might be better, but it's going to create a, if I do this in a tight loop, that might be kind of excessive. So let's put it there. And this is the sort of thing later. What I want to do is go through and look at the performance profile, figure out what it's doing, then maybe move it inside and see what happens. So we do repository equals scope dot service provider dot get required service CDC repository. And then we do var changes equals repository dot, sorry, let's await that. Let's pass in our stopping token. No, we don't take the stopping token. We just call it async for what purpose? Oh, table name. Okay. Ah, there's our offsets. Okay, so we've got to track the offsets separately. And we do async because of the query. But we really want to pass in, I want to pass in that. Because if the this is using Dapper, by the way. Oh, tell me that it doesn't accept a cancellation token. Really? It's a query that does not accept a cancellation token. Okay, Dapper. Then that's a complete and utter waste of time. So we'd use this to determine. So we're going to have to track the last LSN. Again, I've never done this before. I've never used CDC like this before. I've tried to hook up Debezium with Kafka into a SQL server before, but that had varying levels of success. And again, in Liquid Sky, I want to have internal data stored with the object, right? That I don't want to necessarily expose to the wider system. So something like this isn't something I really want to do. Whereas in this case, although in this case, lost the ability to speak there, I want to produce the SQL data straight out and say, hey, this is the current state of this object, consume it. And again, the idea would be, it's probably 0. No, we're just not going to launch. Oh, no, there we go. Sign in. Come on. Apex, hello. How are you doing? There you go. That works. Not too bad. Not too bad. Also, being that I am trying to get on top of this. Also, we don't often get to shout out. We don't often shout out people who are not in the stream, but shout out. Why did you just ignore that? Okay. Merlin is also a streamer. does game dev and stream tools and stuff like that. Often streams with Kani and Hannes Panda, um, and it's a it can be chaotic, but it is a good time. I highly recommend checking out Merlin. Attempted to tidy my space. It's not going well. Yeah, I'm thinking the best way I could tidy my space is to get a large garbage can outside and just go through and get rid of the stuff that I really don't need anymore. Anyway, so this is going to take a table name. So this would take games, and this would take two byte arrays of LSNs, right? So var current max LSN equals that. So how does it deal with minimum? From LSN to LSN. So we just capture what we have as the max LSN and assume that that's the change. Or do we do... So what happens if we run this query? Let's do this. Select. We do that. No, that's not going to work on a MongoDB database, by the way. That. Oh. Games. Must declare the variable. Oh dear. So what does this look like? Can we go? It hasn't added the reviews, but that's in the CDC scope. So, oh, there you go, CDC. There we go. So there's our CDC tables. So there's our CDC games and our routines. Oh, wait, wow, it creates a lot of stuff. So FN from to. What's that going to look like then? Wow, that creates a lot of challenges. Let's have a look at. So this is select. Hmm. So, does it take null? So do we um do we track previous? So if we have var previous min LSN equals, it seems very error prone. Um, but that doesn't take, the problem is that doesn't take nullables. So how does that translate? Because this is going to return a byte array, but that suggests that that can't return a byte array because that's going to return null. I have a feeling this may not work as well as I hope. Who knew AI is, let's see, the max LSN async method. I'm going to do this off the screen. You don't need to see me search. I'm obviously saying what I'm searching, but it just saves a lot of refresh of the screen. Max LSN async method. No, you don't. Oh, it's a null. No changes. How do we accommodate that? I mean, the obvious answer would be to make this nullable, but I don't know if this can accept null, so. Ah. There's no min. There's no min. No, 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 no. No, there's no min. Select sys dot fn CDC get min lsn dbo games. Ah, there we go. So I just asked. Right? Now I can show it because now there's a lot more information than I can read out, right? So all I asked was, okay, well, and in the same conversation, I'm like, okay, well, give me the methods for the CDC stuff. So what I said then was the max LSN async method defaults to null. How do we handle that? Oh, well, you need to return a null. Oh, and here's a helper to compare them to validate that you actually are getting, the right thing. And then let's update the process changes async to do way more. And then let's get the starting and get the minimum and then create an end checkpoint. So this was completely lacking from everything else it said before. So it's just opened up a whole load more stuff, right? So basically, now I would create a CDC checkpoints database table that would allow me to trap which one I'd last processed. So I can always start from that one. But we now got all these queries that it wasn't doing before. Ugh. So current max. If the max is null, then there's no changes to do, right? Okay, so that makes sense. And then we get the starting LSN, and starting LSN is now going to be, oh, if we haven't processed, if we have a last processed, use it. Otherwise, try to load from the checkpoint. Finally, get the min LSN. Oh, think. So I'm at the point where that's that one. That's that one. Ah, sorry for the flashbang. That was not intentional. Let's close that down. I'm at the point where there seems to be so much code here. There is absolutely zero chance no one's written a library for this, right? So, um, yeah. Download. Um, okay, that's that. So, what I'm thinking is that we need to do a new conversation Um, is there a library in .NET for handling CDC changes? There just seems to be too much code here that I seem to be reinventing a wheel. There's a smell. Um, Easy I know about, but how much Debezium.net. But what I'm trying to avoid here is actually including Kafka this time, right? I don't want the weight of Kafka for this application. What I wanted is a service that would allow me to integrate and stream out the data to another database so I can get these things together. I was trying to make it less complicated, but still have my separation, right? Um, can you tell me more about Debezium.net, being that they don't want to? So this is where the over engineering um, problem comes about, right? Like you could level the argument at me that I am over engineering what is a game library, right? However, I'm trying to develop the software in a way that I am comfortable with and also then allows me to have that separation. If I put it all in one big application, even if it did a modular monolith style, there's still going to be a problem of overlap. So I'm trying to avoid that. But by avoiding that, I'm also adding complications that do mean that deployment of this is harder, management of this is harder. There's way more moving parts, way more moving services. And, putting it up on the cloud is just going to cost a fortune if I'm not careful. Debezium is primarily a Java-based platform built on Apache Kafka. See, I don't want to use Kafka. That's the point. Is there a way of avoiding Kafka for um, that neatly wraps CDC? Um, so what I could do here is basically create this service to insert the data straight into the database. So then I just have a monitoring service that receives from one and puts in the other. That's the quickest way. Um, and the concerns are then just dumped in one place rather than everywhere. So I'm just trying to play with the design, and I'm using this as an excuse for that. Yes, there are excellent .NET libraries that provide exactly what you're looking for. CDC without Kafka, SQL table dependency is a high-level C# component used to receive notifications on SQL Server record. Oh, oh, I suppose. I suppose. Yeah, create a .NET wrapper. SQL table dependency, a high-level implementation, record changes, project website. Uh, yeah. .NET Core 2. Mm, mm, probably not what I want to use. I was trying not to build a library. I don't want to use Service Broker. No worries, Apex. Thank you for coming hanging out for a bit. And Stoney, I sincerely apologize. You were the first one in here, and you're the one I have not given the shout out to yet. And I apologize for that. Having a bot reply is it just feels so insincere. But if you haven't checked out Stoney as well, Stoney builds his No Mercy media server on stream. Also builds bot stuff on stream, and it is a good chill place to go and hang out. Assuming Dukasoft hasn't got hold of the playlist. Um, yeah, or JD. JD's a bit of a terror as well with the playlist, right? But yeah, I highly recommend going and checking out Stoney. His code is fantastic. Miss Ranhorn, good morning. Hope you're well. Yeah, I'm not going to use a 5-year-old library, and I don't feel like maintaining that, regardless of downloads. Um, mm. I told, so in my Claude prompt, I told it that I like analogies, so please give me analogies where possible. So now everything gets an analogy. Um, she's pretty cool. What's that? Oh, I'm reminded to go play silly games on LinkedIn. I need to turn them off. Uh, yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, so basically what I do is I ask it to give me a general level of accuracy based upon whatever information it's got. Like, is this a thing I care about? And also give me analogies where possible, so to help me get my head around some of the reasons why I might do something. Because I don't do well with a bunch of technical terms just dumped on screen and with no context of how they join together. So yeah, board. Now this is going to be mural board. This is going to be. No, I'm going to draw my own. This is going to be game drove. How do you change the background? How do you change the background in mural? No, not there. Preferences. Background color. Gray. Dark gray. There we go. Okay. So, what I'm going to try and do. I'm practicing my Miro, by the way. That's why I'm using Miro all of a sudden. Font is going to be white. So we have games. We have IGDB. We have price charting. Yep. Right. And similar to Liquid Sky, right? I don't want I don't want these two things, or these three things all joining together here, because I'm trying to make sure that my games data that I've captured, and I've got the UPC, I've got the price I paid, I've got all sorts of information. I don't want that all cluttered with price charting and IGDB, because if price charting goes away tomorrow and my stuff is highly, yeah, mermaid diagrams are pretty cool. Uh, Miro diagram. What's the difference? No, not now. Um, so basically, uh, water style, white. Okay. I want to create just the same way I have in Look Sky. I want to create a view or a query or whatever you want to call it, version of this so that I can speed up those lookups. I can get a better UI experience because I don't have to um, wait for multiple calls to complete to be able to display information. I don't have to. Um, I can create a combined object that has IGDB data, price chart data, and games data for a game, so I know what the current value is, and I update that in real time. So this is what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to not use a mouse properly. Oh, okay, I get it. It's because I've got the colors all set funky, so it doesn't allow you to theme everything. It just allows you to, uh, yeah, a theme would be helpful. Oh, but now I've changed it. It works. Okay, come on, come on, you can do it. There you go. So I need all this to go in there. So the games currently live in the database. The price chart and information currently lives in the database, in the same database, right? And now I want to create this view database that then my client will be able to feed off of that. But the tools seem to be lacking here. So that's a problem. That is a big problem. Um, so two problems to solve. The first one is um, how do I get the data out, right? So this is not going to work clearly. I'm going to have to track a list of tables that I care about somewhere. So that's probably going to be um, here. Um, right. So games, price charting snapshot, etc. Helps if you do the right structures, right? Something like that, where I can load in the actual list of tables I'm monitoring, and then this doesn't have to change per thing. However, then once I've got through that, how do I produce that? How do I what do I do? Or do I just decide, what the concerns live here and don't bother with anything like any sort of eventing or streaming of any form? I just take the events out of the database and insert the data in the other side. But then all of this becomes knowledge. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to think about how I do this. Streaming it is kind of a little bit premature if I was trying to show the complete. What? What? Okay, it's fine, Ryder. It's fine. Just take a break. Oh, it's because that broke. It's because of that. I didn't realize that broken that. I'll be honest. I was going to play today with building my own Stream Deck UI so that I can use my touchscreen without having a Stream Deck plugged in. So building my own that works with the web services. And then it dawned on me right before I started. I was like, oh, if I do that, I'm going to hit a button incorrectly and change a scene, or I'm going to end the stream when I don't mean to. So that's probably not a good stream, uh, unless I have a second copy of OBS running, which I don't want to play with, having never done that before. So yeah, that was quickly dropped. But this I was trying to figure out over the weekend. Yes. You mean OBS for the stream off another computer, so I can play with OBS on the machine with the or just run it on a different computer so I can just use WebSockets anyway to control it. Gotcha. I assume it's T-bot. Gotcha. Yeah. We'll we'll figure that out. So this has started to make me think I probably need to build a library around this. I don't want to do that. It seems like something should exist for this. The fact that there's this code out there suggests there's a library out there that somewhere does this. But let's let's introduce Claude's pieces. Let's do the LSN helper extensions. That's fine. Public static. Um, this array1, this. What does it want to do with these? I'm not sure. So that would be that now. LSM1 dot compare by arrays to that. That makes that a bit more readable. Don't do that. There we go. This. Hi, Loke. You okay? No, 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 Loki, no. Come on. You get what you get, bud. Oh dear. I just received a 50-pound dog on my lap. Awesome. This is this is not going to be easy, is it, bud? No. Okay, so get max LSN should return a weight using, and then where does that? Let's just use that. Make it static. How does it? No, because it's instanced. How can that be wanting to make it static? Huh? Okay, there we go. I'm using an instance variable. Why are you trying to make it static? That was weird. So it still is very much bugging me that this is um, not a library. So same problem again. There you go. Wait, using. There you go. There you go. Sorry, that's. I know that it upsets some people that I do the spacing out, but for me that increases the readability massively. So that is my preference, right? Rather than squish these up together, it allows me to break these out mentally so that I can, yeah, do what I need to do there. So my code, I don't, considering how small normal classes are for me, I don't worry about that vertical spacing. Now, I assume that I'd want to create this table in CDC. But it means that if I do that, then this whoever this runs as has to have access to CDC anyway, right? So the user I run it as right now, I'm using it as SA. That's fine. However, even though I'm getting this connection string, I would have to run it as a different user eventually. Because if you look, right, so game tracking is fine, but the CDC schema, I assume I'd want to put the checkpoints in the CDC schema just for my. Sorry, the Loki's lying on my left arm. He's apparently very happy right this second. Maybe this winter I can figure out once I get my room organized. I can figure out the dog cams. 002. You're the lumpy boy that's sliding off me. There you go. Add. CDC checkpoints. CDC checkpoints. So we do .sql. We do use game tracking. This is not very good. Go. And then if we do CDC, CDC dot CDC checkpoints, I'm going to assume that works. Unlike Streamlabs. Hey, buddy. So let's create add checkpoint service. Ultimately, these are all going to live together anyway, so I don't see the benefit in. Nice, did that right. Putting LSN on everything. Last processed LSN from. Assume I can do CDC dot there. Morning, Mojo. How you doing? If I start using emojis in my commits, someone has seriously yeah, someone had major effect on my how do we do this? I think it's that, and we want to do table name, right? I think it's that. And that's there, and then that's there. Table name is table name. Source table name. Okay, so that should have the checkpoint service for a given table. Like, again, that comment adds nothing, right? Don't track null, right? That's great, but it's kind of obvious. So why are we allowing null to be passed in? Um, yeah. So the padding in my chair is 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 not good anymore, and having 50 extra pounds sat on me is really bad. I'm trying, Loke. Wouldn't you be happier lying on a bed or a sofa? Huh? Loki Loki likes human contact. When we sit on the sofa, he has to come and sit on you. He has to lay on you. If he's got a toy, he'll bring his favorite toy, um, and come and sit and chew it on your knee, which if you have shorts on is very painful, being that their toys are kind of hard plastics. Right, Buff? Huh? You good boy? Um, I don't have cookies. Do you want a cookie? Should I go get you a cookie? Tell you what, I will be right back. I'll go grab them a cookie, and then I'll see if we can get them on the camera for you. I do owe you. I realise that. You did do it. Be right back. Come here, Raj. Come here. What? Okay, so we can get this now. Loki, up. Come here. Come here. Come here. Up. Come here. Come here. Up. Come here. Up. Up. I don't think you'll see him. Oh, there you go. Come here. Up. Up. Come here. Up. Ah. Wait. You just stole your sister's. Well, no, he wants cookie. If he's got a chance to get a cookie, he's not going to go up on your lap for that unless he absolutely has to. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you one more. But then when he jumped up, he leant on me, pushed me out the way, and stole one of his sister's two cookies. So she gets two of these and you get one. Because you're a chunk. Is there anything you won't eat? Come on. Taylor's laying down. Taylor's not going to jump up. Okay. Come here. Up. Okay. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. Go boy. Go boy. Yeah. Want a cookie? Want a cookie now? Oh. There you go. And you can eat it down the microphone for people. That's nice. I don't know how much that caught. Good boy. Oh dear. There we go, bud. I know. I know. Oh, thank you. Is it good? Huh? Yeah. There you go. Okay. So he's happy now. He's very happy now. Aren't you? Was that good? Did you have cookies? Yeah. My wife was transferring, like consolidating some boxes of biscuits the other day, and this one ran over and just stuck his head full in the box and grabbed as many as he could in one go. Didn't you? You're a walking stomach, aren't you? Yeah. You okay, bud? You okay? Good boy. So, okay. Nice derail. So, checkpoint service, we're going to add, uh, that needs the same things. Builder.services, add scoped, checkpoint service. It's the same thing, just with a checkpoint service. Checkpoint service. So CDC is probably not the best um, acronym for this one, but it is CDC. So um, change data capture is what I've done is I've enabled it in SQL Server. It creates this extra schema, which will then actually I probably should check that I can do this part, shouldn't I? Do-do-do. Okay, so I can do that part. CDC checkpoints is the table I'm going to create to capture this, but it's in a separate schema. And what it does is it records all the changes to a table, right? So it's going to bloat my server size. Twitch is taking its sweet time to approve my new emo uploads. That's weird. They know, but pretty fast. That one. Ah, hi, Loke. You all right? Manette, hello. How you doing? And again, as we just discovered, there's not many libraries available to do this. The one library I can find that doesn't involve Kafka, um, or kind of hacking together some um, extra pieces, was last touched 6 or 7 years ago. And the last release was 5 years ago. So I do not want to get into trying to play with .NET Core 2 apps. Or .NET Core 2 libraries, because updating that and making sure that's all sufficient for what I'm doing was more worth than doing what I'm doing here. Yeah. So I am using Claude to help me identify the pieces I need to do to capture the changes. So this change monitoring service, the intent of it will be constantly running, looking for anything that's changed, and if something has changed, it will pick that out and um, produce those changes somewhere, right? Um, whether that be in a local um, um, I'm not even sure yet. I'm not sure how I want to even achieve this. But what I'm trying to do is go for something that looks more like this, right? So that right now my price charting data is joined into my database, into my games database. My IGDB data is stored or cached in Mongo, and IGDB is its own service. But if for whatever reason price charting, you know, up their pricing and I can't really afford their API key, or I don't want their data anymore, there's a different library or something, now I'm tightly coupled to price charting and my data is intertwined. So what I want to do is allow myself the ability to have my data separate to IGDBs and price charting and whatever other integration I do in the future, but then provide a query API that joins that data together, similar to how I do Liquid Sky, but I'm just trying to experiment with using CDC because I've talked about this. I said it earlier in the stream. I've mentioned CDC a few times, both professionally and personally, locally, recently, not locally, as a method of getting data out of your system without changing the core of your system, right? So with Liquid Sky, I have integration services, and the intent there is to produce a deliberate data set that can manipulate the way it produces it. It can produce just what it needs to do. I can still store data in those tables without actually leaking that information beyond the service itself. Whereas with this is going to be less selective. I can pick which tables get exported, but I can't pick which columns. So although this is suitable if I'm just literally creating another schema off of my primary schema, then this is probably more appropriate. So yeah, but the cost comes in that this is going to be delayed, um, especially if I have lots of data changing at once. So yes, so I've got to figure out that part. So what this is doing is this creates this change checkpoint, this save checkpoint system, which will allow me to, for any table, record what LSN are processed. LSN stands for, what does LSN stand for? I thought I knew what LSN stood for, but I'm all of a sudden blanking on that. Either way, it's tracking ID that, so if you see all these tables, game conditions, start LSN, end LSN, these are, I think they are unique identifiers for the changes themselves. So if I go in and change, in theory, if I go in and change a table, tables, games, what can I do? What can I do? Madden, uh, NFL, technically the correct name of it anyway, and save that. CDC should have captured that. Will it capture it eventually, or will it capture it ever? No? That's interesting. The agent's running. Okay. Yep, that's the interesting. Now this does require SQL Server agent to be running. So is this a 30-second delay thing? Is this a... It's not just, it's not code that'll trigger it though. I'm certain of that fact. That just isn't showing, is it? Like I said, I've used Debezium. I've tried to use Debezium before to hook this up. Um, uh, I also have a Loki on my left hand, so that's why I'm using my mouse a lot more right this second, because Loki's now asleep on my left arm. One second, bud. There we go. There you go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're a lump. You're a lump. I know. Well, I'm not pointing the camera down because the camera will be looking at my midriff. So yeah. Oh, I reached my image creation limit in ChatGPT. Oh, oh well. Um. Ba, ba, ba. What is this? CDC not capturing Windows 2 data, but is not being populated. Stop the capture job. Yeah, CDC is enabled, so apparently database objects. I mean, you don't get all this if CDC is not enabled, right? So server objects. It's just terrifying. No, no, no. That definitely isn't working though. So the suggestion is stop the capture job. Or select star from no errors. Execute the procedure, gain tracking. Let's see if that one works there. Exit REPL flush. No. Now check. What's the capture job for? That's the problem. Huh. Exec. Oh, there you go. So it knows it's tracking them. And there's a capture and cleanup job that's running. But you won't populate. Okay. And there's no errors. And there's no log scan session. So nothing has... Interesting. So what the way this is configured, and again, I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can about this. Um, is you enable CDC, and then you loop through each table, or you get the tables you want to do, and you enable for the table the schema name, which table it's pointing at. So in this case, the schema name is the DBO schema, right? So it's pulling that out. Loops through those results, puts them in there, and then supports net changes, and then marks it as enabled, which it is because it's in those tables. It's showing as enabled. If we do this one, right, you see enabled and disabled for checkpoints, which is fine. That's interesting that it's tracking. Yeah, that's fine. Either way, CDC is enabled. That's the point. But nothing's showing there. So if we don't get that working, it's not even going to do very much, is it? It's the common one. CDC not picking up changes. Hold on. I don't think I have enough tools in here to tell me. No, SQL Management Studio. So I'm gonna open this. Hopefully not on this screen because it'll be bright white flashbang. Basically, I want to validate that logging is running fine. So it looks like CDC is actually working against SA and password. That's not there's nothing to worry about that password. It's fine. We'll drag this over here. So databases, game tracking, so service broker, services. Oh, hold on. I think SQL Server Agent's not running. That's the problem. So SQL Server Agent is a background process, just like everything else. This is running Dockerized. Yeah, I think SQL Server Agent should be running there. Checking. Checking SQL Server Agent status. Oh, that's probably not the right thing I wanted to do. Oh, stopped. Yeah. Well, I was going to check, but SQL Server Agent's not running, so the background jobs aren't going to be running anyway. Do I start SQL Server Agent? on Dockerized SQL Server. Loki, you can't get impatient with me when you're trying to sit on a set of legs with no cushion. Okay, don't get impatient. You're okay. Ba, 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 ba. I don't like this idea, but let's find out. So we go over here and we go to Games Trove SQL Server exec, and we do uh, op, cd opt ms SQL bin ms SQL conf set SQL agent dot enabled true. Conf set SQL agent dot enabled true. Systemctl restart ms SQL server dot service. uh, okay. So it wants to do this, so that's why. Restart. I don't think that's the right thing to do, though. I don't think that is the right thing to do. Let's take that out of there so we can just do it in a screen that isn't going to burn my retinas. Loki. That doesn't matter. Stopped. So if I look at open in explore, no code here. So my SQL Server. Oh, where did it go? Oh, that's not right. There's a way of enabling it here, and that's missing. And I did it last week because you have to have the SQL agent enabled to enable CDC. So the fact that CDC is enabled now, but SQL Server agent's not running, just means the background jobs aren't doing what they need to do. So Docker SQL Server agent. There's a way of setting it up, and I can't remember what it is every time. No. Morning, Mars. How you doing? Agent. No. Oh, low key. Really? It's Monday and I'm at work. That's about all I can say. Oh no. Well, here's hoping to a fast Monday. So let's configure. Uh, so what I need to do here is I need to enable the SQL agent, and I thought I had it in here, but clearly not. It's something really simple as well. Oh, why am I doing that? No, over here. Agent. It's something to do with the environment. You add a tag of like SQL Server agent. Um, Docker enable SQL Server agent environment property. But variables. Loki buddy, you got to knock it off. Uh, MS SQL agent enabled. There we go. It's that simple. Equals true. Okay, so then, oh, you know what? I know what I did. I branched and I didn't save that change. So now let's do Docker pulls down, stop them. Come on. Bet you're the pain in the ass. Oh no, there we go. Docker compose up dash D. Bring that back up. Then refresh that. Yeah. It's all good. Service broker manager has started. Right, so it's starting jobs. That's what matters. There you go. SQL Server agent is running. Jobs are game tracking, capture, cleanup. So the jobs are running, which means we might actually have something there. There we go. There's our changes. Interesting. Operation 3, Operation 4. Okay, Loki, I gotta put you down, Muffin. Come on. Okay, come on. Good boy. Just because you got rudely unsettled. There you go. Good boy. Okay, let's finish this up. So, there we go. We have those. What I was looking at in here is this service CDC repository. They gave me a lookup for this. So a 3 is an update before and a 4 is an update after. So I wouldn't want, so it can't, oh wow, that's going to create a lot of data. So that's something sequence number, I assume, because that sequence value is exactly the same as that. So, um, yeah. Oh, wow. That's going to create a lot of data. Okay, so that creates that. Okay. So I assume what we're going to do is we're going to get a we're going to get the checkpoint service minimum LSN, or get the min LSN from the table. Does this truncate is the question. Because obviously we restarted the server multiple times there. We added the server, the SQL agent job. Those things, those changes persisted, those restarts. Does SQL Server CDC truncate changes? Change table validity. The change data capture validity interval for a database is the time during which change data is available for capture instances. Okay. So I assume we can probably configure, when we enable this, I assume we configure a time window of some sort in which that's valid and doesn't expire, because otherwise you're going to end up querying the entire data schema every single time. Well, that's fun. And Napalm, I apologize. Good morning. Not intentional. Today I've been playing with change data capture. What I'm looking to do is export the data from my games library database into a shared database that we can kind of combine the IGDB and price charting data into, and that will speed up my view side. But that's going to come with cost, right? So as it stands right now, I'm looking at, well, games, IGDB, query, etc. These are all different services deployed. How do I handle that? Yes. These are going to be challenges. One way of doing this that might be interesting to try would be kind of a modular monolith, right? Where the games, the IGDB, the price charting are actually components that all wind up into one API. So I only have one API, and even the view side is its own API, but that gives me the ability later on to split them out as their own application. So maybe that's the way I tackle this. I try and make it a more modular monolith. What I realized as I was going through this, the UI is looking great. I love the way it's built. I love the way it's presenting data. But then when I started to get into it, I'm like, I'm creating views for the sake of creating views. I'm creating store procs to create to allow me to do things or functions. And yeah. So you would appreciate this. I'm working in Go right now, creating a custom receiver for hotel collector. Huh. Nice. Doesn't have anything available for it, or you need to do specific things with that? Oh, shit, quick. Oh dear. Um, nice. Okay. Oh wow, it's 9 o'clock already. This is, yeah, this is, um, I've got to start getting some more exercise in my routine. So this is why the streams have been cut back a little bit, and I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. And one of the suggestions yesterday from Dota was what I could cut down the amount of time I spend on the stream, but I'm not sure about that. Because 2 hours flies by, right? So I have to figure that out. I'm trying to get Azure APM logs into Datadog. The one on the contrib repo for Azure Event Hub doesn't work well, and we cannot wait. Oof. That's a rough one when you've got to make up a deficiency like that. It's yet more like I get the you know, not invented here sort of stuff. I get the control. Um, Sometimes it's really rough when it's not quite what you need, but it's there, but you can't wait. So now you got to build something that you have to maintain and hope they don't change their APIs. Uh, well, it's a pretty established thing, right? The hotel stuff. But oof, yeah. I'd be sad if you left early. I'd be able to make it for them. Yeah, I I got to figure out some sort of stream schedule based upon, I need to get some more exercise based upon the events from the other week. So I need to somehow fit it all in, and the time before the start of my day is the only window I really have. So that's the challenge. I'd rather add to the public one. Yeah, it'd probably be if it's almost there but needs some extra pieces to get it over the line. It's probably less involved. Okay, so who haven't we raided in a while? Oh, Anna is the nearest C# dev that's streaming. Or props. Uh, so right now, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try and stream 3 days a week at the least. So I will be back again on Wednesday. Um, Again, if you're interested in continuing conversations off stream, you're more than welcome to join the Discord. We do hang out in there. The conversation in the voice chat can be a little bit random. So, but it can be brought back on topic with some good technical discussion. So yeah, random indeed. Yes, it can be all sorts of stuff, but that's fine. If you have an agenda, if you want to talk about something, you're more than welcome to. Okay, that being said, props is I just realized that. That's why props is not getting the raid, I'm afraid. We'll go over to Anna. Anna's working on uh, interactive editor still, some more C#, but is working in C#. So she's been building that for quite a while, but building from scratch, which is impressive all the time. So let's go raid Anna. I'll be back on Wednesday, and I'll see how much more of this I can get done before then. Hopefully get some progress made, and then maybe I'll actually start building this as a modular monolith. That way I can deploy one service with all the pieces in it and have one database and, two services, the API and everything that way, and then yeah. So it will cut down on the other background services. But anyway, I'll get into that more on Wednesday. So thank you for joining me. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, Loki. Let's go. See you soon, guys. Going outside? Go outside. Come on.